Welcome to the deep dive. So we got this guide sent in, how to get a woman's number in email and keep her attracted. It's by David D'Angelo.
Right.
And it grabbed our attention straight away because, well, it dives into making those first connections, right? And also that whole tricky subject of attraction.
Yeah, it's a big topic.
Definitely. And right off the bat, there's something kind of surprising. He doesn't just focus on getting the phone number. Actually, he argues that getting an email address first, that might be even more valuable.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because most advice is just get the number, get the number.
Exactly.
But his thinking behind it, that's what's fascinating. He talks about how, he got really good at collecting phone numbers, almost like a party trick. But he started to realize, hey, these numbers, they don't always lead anywhere. They don't always turn into real connections.
Okay, so it wasn't just about collecting digits.
Not at all. So this shift, this focus on email first, it shows he was really thinking about what happens after you meet someone, how that communication actually, develops.
Right. And he makes this point that women might act, well, differently on a phone call right after meeting, maybe a bit standoffish or just rushed.
Yeah, a bit guarded maybe. But email, that's different. It gives both people a chance to, think things through, compose a response.
It takes the pressure off that immediate back and forth.
Exactly. That whole asynchronous thing. You send it, she reads it when she wants, replies when she wants. It's not like a phone call landing right in the middle of her day.
Which can feel a bit intrusive sometimes, especially early on.
Totally. And he makes another good point. Emails often get checked more reliably than, say, voicemails these days. People just glance at their inbox more often.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does he actually suggest getting this email? And maybe the phone number, too. He's got a specific sequence, right?
He does. It's quite structured. It starts after maybe just a short chat, like 3 or 4 minutes.
Pretty brief.
Yeah. And you just kind of suddenly say, well, hey, it was nice meeting you, and make a move to leave.
Oh, okay. So, you're ending the conversation first. That feels unexpected.
It does, yeah. It breaks the usual pattern. He thinks women might be used to guys trying to drag out that first chat, maybe trying a bit too hard.
So this is meant to be intriguing.
Potentially, yeah. Bit of a pattern interrupt.
Okay. And then what? As you're turning away.
Right. Just as you start to move, you turn back slightly and just casually ask, hey, do you have email?
Not, can I have your email, but do you have email?
Exactly. It's subtle, but it's different. It's just asking if she uses email, not demanding her address right then and there.
Lower pressure. Makes sense.
Definitely feels less like putting her on the spot.
And assuming she says yes, what's the next move?
Instantly, you get your pen and paper ready, or maybe your phone these days, and just say, great, write it down for me.
Just like that. Assumptive.
Very. He suggests that, surprisingly often, women just go along with it at that point. There's a kind of momentum.
Okay. Like she already said yes to having email.
Exactly. That little yes creates a bit of agreement, and then the physical act of writing it down or typing it kind of locks it in. It's neat psychology.
Okay, I see that. And then comes the really slick part, right? While she's writing the email?
While she's doing that, you just casually add, write your number down there too.
So you piggyback the phone number request onto the email one.
Pretty much. It seems to work on that idea that, her brain's already processing the first request, so adding a small second one, it just slips in easier.
Less resistance, maybe. The main hurdle giving contact info was already crossed with the email.
That seems to be the thinking. It feels like less of a big deal attached to the email, almost like an afterthought.
Clever. And he even has a way to try and make sure it's a real number she gives you, right?
Yeah, he suggests asking, as she's writing it, something like, is this a number that you actually answer?
Oh, okay. Just a direct little check.
Yeah, and he's got these funny follow-ups if she hesitates or gives a voicemail number, like, look, write your real number down. It's going to be, okay, I promise I'll only call you 9 times a day.
Huh. Using humor to kind of diffuse any awkwardness?
Exactly. It tackles the, is this a fake number thing without being accusatory. The joke makes it light.
Okay. But what if she says, no, I don't have email, right at the start? Which is maybe less common now, but possible.
He's got a response for that, too. Again, with humor. Something like, oh, really? Well, do you have electricity?
Keeping it light.
Yeah. And then he suggests saying something like, okay, well, he prefers email because phones are hard to reach people on, but he'll take the phone number anyway.
So still going for some contact info, just adapting, not letting the no stop the process.
Right. Being flexible, keeping the interaction positive, but still asking for the number.
The main thing, the thread through all this, seems to be how you ask. Smooth, assuming, calm,
Mm.
confident.
Absolutely. That confidence is key. He stresses that if you ask smoothly and they give it, they know why you asked. You don't need to stumble over explanations.
Right, the intent is kind of understood.
That confidence, that lack of hesitation or apology signals you're comfortable and this is just a normal interaction for you. No neediness.
And he adds a really practical tip, too, about always having a pen.
Yeah.
He even recommends a specific one.
Oh, yeah, the Fisher Space pen. Chrome.
He says it's small, classy, and women notice things like that.
Little details, right? Being prepared just shows you're, well, prepared, put together. And yeah, maybe a nice pen doesn't hurt.
Okay, so that's the tactical side, getting the email, getting the number. But then the material really shifts gears, doesn't it? It goes deeper into keeping her attracted.
It does, and he uses this really relatable, almost painful scenario to kick it off.
The breakup conversation.
Yeah, where the woman says something like, look, I'm just not attracted to you anymore. I don't feel it.
Ouch. Yeah.
And the guy's response is often, desperation. What can I do? I'll do anything.
It just perfectly captures that disconnect, where one person's talking logic and fixing, and the other's talking pure feeling.
Exactly. The guy's trying to bargain with an emotion, basically. And her point is, that's not how attraction works.
And it links to that feeling lots of people have had, where you think you're doing everything right in a relationship.
Being the nice guy.
Yeah, trying to please them, being accommodating. But they just seem to drift further away. It's really confusing.
It really challenges that whole idea that just being agreeable 24/7 is the secret sauce for romance.
Right. The author argues attraction isn't really a choice someone makes.
It's not a logical decision.
And it's definitely not based on what he calls, and it's a blunt term, wussy-like behavior.
Yeah.
Weakness, neediness, insecurity.
He really doubles down on that. He's saying that being too nice, too predictable, maybe uninteresting, even boring,
Yeah.
that can actually kill attraction.
Which is the opposite of what a lot of people are taught or assume.
Absolutely. And he connects it to maybe some basic differences in attraction triggers. He suggests men might be more visually driven initially, whereas for women, it's often more about personality, character, how a guy carries himself.
And he lists specific traits he thinks trigger this attraction in women. Things like, what were they? Dominance.
Yeah. Humor,
Yeah.
definitely. Unpredictability was a big one.
Right. Adventure, strength, being comfortable with sexuality.
Sexual awareness, yeah. Even a bit of indifference, like your world doesn't revolve around her approval.
It's a strong list, quite assertive traits.
It paints a picture of someone self-assured who has their own life and purpose, not just looking for validation. And yeah, he sums it up starkly. Women aren't attracted to wussies.
Can't get much clearer than that.
Pretty direct.
Then he talks about this concept of women testing men.
Yep.
Not in a mean way necessarily, but
Yeah, more like trying to see if the guy's legit. Is that confidence he showed at the start? Is that his real character? Or just an act?
checking for authenticity. Because everyone's putting on a bit of a show at first, right?
Pretty much. So these little tests, maybe challenging him, disagreeing, seeing how he reacts, it helps her figure out if he's genuinely got that strength or if he folds easily.
See if the walk matches the talk.
You got it. How does he handle a little pressure? Does his confidence hold?
And he contrasts the guy who passes these tests with, again, the wuss bag. Maybe the guy she feels she settled for.
Right. And brings it back to that breakup scene, the begging, the pleading, I'll do anything. That's like the ultimate confirmation of that wussy behavior he's talking about.
It just reinforces the lack of attraction, pushes her further away.
Exactly. It confirms her feeling that maybe the strength she was initially attracted to wasn't really there, or it's gone. It's a negative feedback loop.
So the solution he offers is just as blunt. Never be thought of as a wussy again.
He's not subtle.
Not at all. But he does clarify, being nice and accommodating, that's fine for friends. Great even.
Yeah, he's not saying be a jerk.
No. But for attraction, for romance, he argues that's not the optimal path. He says attractive women want a man, not someone they could easily push around or train.
Right. Unless, as he jokes, she's into wearing leather and charging by the hour, which probably isn't the dynamic most listeners are aiming for.
Probably not. It emphasizes that point about seeking a partner who is, their own solid person.
Strong individual, yeah. Not a doormat.
Okay, so this idea of not being predictable, not being easily controlled, that leads him into talking about unpredictability itself and attention. He mentions Broca's region in the brain.
Yeah, that part linked to language, but also prediction.
Right. And he says our brains are like prediction machines, constantly trying to figure out what's next.
Uh-huh. Constantly scanning the environment.
And the stuff that's predictable, our brain just goes, yep, seen it, know it, and kind of discounts it.
Yeah.
Fades into the background.
Doesn't grab our focus.
But the unpredictable, the unexpected, that's what snaps our attention. Our brain zeroes in on it.
That's a really neat way to frame it. If our attention is naturally drawn to novelty and surprise,
Then predictable behavior in dating,
mm,
it just won't cut through.
even if it's nice, polite, predictable behavior, it might just get ignored. Doesn't spark interest.
And he gives concrete examples of predictable and therefore often ineffective approaches, like acting nervous, apologetic,
Constantly seeking approval, yeah.
asking those really cliche questions like, so, you probably have a boyfriend, huh? Or the super tentative, could I maybe take you out sometime?
Things that attractive women likely hear all the time.
Exactly. He argues they hear this stuff constantly, and it immediately signals, lack of confidence, lack of originality. They categorize the guy negatively, like instantly.
Because if your approach is just like the last 10 guys,
You blend in. You don't stand out as in capture attention, let alone attraction. These predictable things signal the opposite of those attractive traits he listed earlier.
right, confidence, humor, being your own person.
But on the flip side, if a guy interacts in a way that's interesting, maybe a bit challenging, unpredictable,
That's when he says her brain fires up.
yeah, it grabs her attention, creates intrigue, and that's where attraction starts to happen, driven more by emotion. The unexpected sparks something.
It disrupts the script, creates curiosity, maybe some excitement, which are definitely ingredients for attraction.
So the core lesson seems pretty clear. Don't be predictable.
Yeah. Be an interesting, unpredictable challenge.
He does say this is just the beginning, right? There are more specific techniques for different situations.
Oh yeah, this is foundational. But he emphasizes understanding the why behind it all, why attraction works the way it does beyond just memorizing lines or tactics.
Understanding the underlying principles,
Exactly.
the psychology of it.
Okay, so wrapping this part up, we looked at that specific strategy for getting contact info email first, maybe, using that write it down momentum for the number 2.
Pretty clever technique, yeah. But maybe the bigger shift is thinking about attraction itself, moving away from just being accommodating.
And towards embodying those traits like, well, unpredictability, strength, confidence, not being the wussy.
Right, it's really challenging that conventional just be nice advice when it comes to romance. He's arguing for something more dynamic, more intriguing.
Genuine connection, he suggests, often sparks from that intrigue, not just agreeableness.
Which leads us nicely into our final thought for everyone listening. Think about this predictability versus unpredictability dynamic. How does it play out in all your relationships, not just romantic ones?
Interesting question. Friends, family, work colleagues.
Yeah, and maybe even bigger picture. What actually captures and holds someone's attention? What makes any person in any context truly memorable and engaging?
Beyond just romance, what makes someone compelling?
Exactly. Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for diving deep with us on this one.